Good morning. Myself Selvakumar, Assistant Professor, Government College of Engineering, Tanjavur. So, I'm going to discuss about the subject Telecommunication Network Management of Unit 3. The topics over in this subject. Topics over in the subject are object-oriented modeling, introduction to object-oriented model, system management architecture, message structure for the telecommunication network management, object-oriented design. So object-oriented modeling appropriation is in telecommunication network, the equivalent of the message is specified using an object-oriented protocol. In telecommunication network, the messages is specified using the object-oriented prototypes. So several information using this prototype have been developed as a part of the standard work on the telecommunication management network. So with the different details, complexity, object-based approaches are defined. Object-based approaches are defined for managing the internet data communication network as well as for building the software for the applications. The following subsection describes the telecommunication and the data communication network management. Here I'm showing the system management architecture. This architecture is used for exchanging the management information for the interactive application as shown in the figure. Let us assume that is OS in managing network element. This implies that is OS in the managing system and the network element in the managing systems. So, OS in the managing network element, this implies that OS also managing system that is in the managed objects. Network element in the managed systems. This network element we call it as the managed objects. So in contrast, the message-based prototype, the object-oriented approach specifies a set of remote operations. For transferring the information to a set of remote operations or managing the information in the managed objects in the managing systems, managed systems, this message-based prototype and the object-oriented approach are used. These remote operation may be performed on different resources depending on the technology service architecture being managed. The managing system issues, here see the diagrams here. This is a system management architecture. The is a MIS management information systems user. There is a manager role. So it's send a management operation to the managed systems, that is this manager system. Here the there is a manager role, here is the agent role, and performing the operations regarding the manager objects. This is the manager objects, this manager objects, and after completing the performance, then the notification emitted, then it will be this notification or trap messages that will be written back to the managers. The same here is typed here. The manager operation requested and receives notification corresponding to the various events. Instead of defining new message, the resource was manage object with the specific characteristics. So in previous cases, they are using the defining new messages. The resources are modeled as the managed objects or specific characteristics to performing the informations. So message structure for the telecommunication network management. This common management information protocol is used to provide service in the common management information service element is used for the external communications. So the services offered by the CMS including the database to create, retrieve, delete and modify data along with the resource specific events, report and actions. So every message, this already we discussed in the second units in the common management information service element. So we are preparing the invoke ID and the operation value. This manager object class or manager object instance, manager object class or manager instance, the specific performance to be done in the remote systems. So that is here identified that every message has a sequence number, value or code to identify the remote operation. It's a specific set of operations that are reused across multiple management application functions. The resources and the properties can be managed or specified in terms of the object-oriented information model. In other words, message structures leads naturally to an object-oriented prototype. Object-oriented prototype. So before that, we are using the now for that clarification, we have to get the informations in the remote system. We are using the object-oriented prototype to get the information. This object-oriented prototype have several characteristics. So the message structure of the data communication. For data communication, request ID, object name, and object syntax. So this was used in the simple network management protocol data unit for messaging using the SNMP. The system management architecture described in figure 1 suitable for describing the management of the data communication network, which is specially for the internet. The concept of operations to be performed on objects known as the MIB management information variables is the same even though the type of operations are not identical. The ability to report a notification is equivalent to, so the notification message is equivalent to the tap message indicating something has happened. Again, the detailed types of notification and informed exchanged with it are considerably different. The structure of message shown here. So the concept of object oriented modeling of information is discussed here in the context of message exchange information modeling is not specific to the external communication. It is not specific to the external. It is within the communications. So I already discussed the entity relationship model approach. The object-oriented design principle simply stated that the how that encrypts the data as an object. So this advantages of object-oriented approach model and information are four categories. One is the encapsulation, and another one is the modularity, and another one is the extensibility, and another one is the reusability. The concept of encapsulation is responsible for assuring integrity when it is service request to perform operation. In other words, the internal details of how the operation performed by the resources, which is not visible at the boundary of the object. So any operation has to be done that is not visible at the boundary of the object. So object specifies the properties that reflect the results of executing the messages. So the object-oriented approach naturally lends to its modular specification. So the aspects of management information should be considered as object. Depends on the level of modularity desired. Depends on the level of the modularity desired. Let us consider, for that let us consider the case where performance monitoring parameters are to be collected from a synchronous digital hierarchy line termination. An object may be defined to represent all the information, including the performance monitoring data appropriate to that resources. So the object defined representing informations, the performance monitoring data appropriate to that resources, all the information to that resources. A more modular specification will separate the fundamental properties such as state from performance monitoring parameters. So for including that the performance parameters within an object, the specification becomes modular, which automatically leads to flexible and extensible specification. New performance monitoring parameters may be introduced without affecting the definition of the termination point. Without affecting the definition of the termination point. So for that, we are designing appropriate design, the modularly reuse both at the specification level and in the software level. So I hope that now that all learn about the structure, object-oriented design and the object-oriented structure, message structure for the telecommunication network and the data communication. Thank you and thank you all.